Okay, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about artists who I feel like have no bad albums. My criteria for this is I like their albums to a certain degree. Like, there's not an album which I feel like was just absolutely abhorrent, basically didn't really have a whole lot with it. So that's kind of my criteria for this. I thought it'd be fun to do. So obviously I have to start off with my favorite artist of all time, Mariah Carey. If you see my videos, you know I love her. And so some of the albums people might say are bad or why she shouldn't be here. Everybody loves to hate on Rainbow besides me and like 10 other people, but that's one of my favorite Mariah albums, so I think that's a really good album. I'll do too much on it, but I digress. And then equals MC squared. I feel like she did try to recreate Emancipation with that one, as I said, but it's not a bad album. There's a lot of highlights on it, like I'm That Chick, for example. I also love I Stand Love. Last Kiss is one that has really grown on me. I Wish You Well is one of my favorites off that album. So, I mean, there was a lot of good songs off of there. Some people might say the second Christmas album, but I always like that album. I don't really understand what the beef is for that. Glitter is one that has grown on me a lot. Honestly, I used to not like Glitter at all. I've said this several times. I revisited it a lot. I really did. One day it finally clicked. You know, there's some songs in there I really love. Lead the Way, Never Too Far, Lover Boy, Didn't Mean to Turn You On was a great cover as well. So yeah, after taking years to really sit with Mariah's discography, listen to each album, I really don't think she has any bad albums. I think she has a really strong discography, probably my favorite discography. Of course, she has songs that I don't go for, which I've talked about in my video. But as far as album goes, I think she has a lot of great albums. Butterfly, absolutely incredible. I talk about that like every single week. Daydream, the first Christmas album, I love the debut. Like, Caution was really good. So yeah, obviously really love the discography. Next up, I got Beyonce. If you know me, you know I love Beyonce. She's one of my favorite artists as well. Some people might say, what about I Am Sasha Fierce? I Am Sasha Fierce is not a bad album. We agreed that it's her worst album, but it's not a bad album. You can't tell me it's a bad album with stuff like Halo, which everyone says that they don't like, and I get it's overplayed, but Halo is still one of my favorite Beyonce songs. I don't care. Hello was absolutely incredible. Diva was fun. People hate Single Ladies because I was overplayed, but she ate that one up as well. Disappear was very underrated. So, I mean, there's some really good songs on the album. You know, she has better albums, but it's not a bad album. The Gift, I'm going to be real with you, I don't revisit it a whole lot, but it's not a bad album, you know? So those are the ones that I think people might not really like as much. Depending on the person that I talk to, some people really do not go up for Lemonade, so it really depends on who you talk to. But Beyonce has a lot of good stuff. Like, Renaissance was amazing, Cowboy Carter, I really love Lemonade, B-Day, a lot of people have stuff to say about it, but that's always one of my favorites. But yeah, Beyonce, every single album is good. Up is Taylor Swift. So I was really at the borderline of putting her on this list or not for two reasons. You know, Tortured Poets Department, which I have to make a video on my updated thoughts on my main channel. I've been dragging my feet on that, I know. It's not a bad album, it was just a disappointment, but it's honestly not abhorrent. So, you know what? That's kind of part of it. Reputation is not really one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums, as I stated several times. I don't think it's a bad album either. I think it's grown on me. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people say it is, but those were the ones that were really having me think, should I put Taylor on this list or not? But I decided to because those aren't absolutely abhorrent albums, you know, so, you know, that's kind of something there. And I really like Taylor Swift. She's one of my favorite artists. So some of her best albums, 1989, I said this a billion times, one of my pop Bibles, love that album. A lot of y'all compare albums to 1989, they're not even coming close. Okay, that single run, one of the best single runs of all time. I do not care. I get Taylor Swift her 10s for 1989 any single day. First Taylor album I listened to, love it, and I think it's a strong album. And then Folklore, that was what brought me back to Taylor, was stuff like The Last Great American Dynasty, which was one of my favorites, The One, Cardigan, all that stuff. And then I feel like Red's really grown on me, so I think that those are like some of her best albums, but most of her albums are pretty strong. That's why Tortured Poets was a disappointment. But I digress. I got Fiona Apple. A lot of people don't go for Extraordinary Machine, but that is literally one of my favorite albums by her. I haven't heard the John Bryan version. A lot of people prefer it just out of respect to her as an artist. But the original version, that's top 2 in Fiona's discography, if you let me tell it, okay? Vegetable Cutters, that one was hard for me to get into because that was my first one, you know, and just how off-kilter it is with the vocal deliveries and all that kind of stuff. It takes time to get used to, so I wish I wouldn't have started off with that, but I think that's her best album now. When the Pond Grew on Me, I think her debut is her worst album, but I don't think that's a bad album. I think she's just done much better. The Idler Will is a great album. She only has 5 albums, but all of them are good. So Fiona Apple, one of my favorite artists. and I feel like more people should listen to her. Next up, I got Ariana Grande. Now, a lot of people didn't go up for Eternal Sunshine. Some of my friends want to call it Daylight Savings Time and have their little licks in, but I really enjoyed that album. It's one of my favorite Ariana albums. So, you know, she did what she needed to do with that. A lot of y'all hate on positions, but that 8, Sweetener 8, yeah, I really don't think that Ariana has any bad albums. Sweetener is her best, and always excited to see what she releases next. In terms of a group who I think has no bad albums, I definitely have to put the Beatles up there. I think that Beatles for Sale is definitely an underwhelming project, especially when you had A Hard Day's Night and them doing all original compositions to a bunch of covers and stuff. And then there was that whole soundtrack that they had, the Yellow Submarine or whatever it was called. I don't know if I should consider that part of their discography or not, because they're only on half the soundtrack, and I don't really consider Bodyguard a part of Whitney's discography because of the same thing, and that's not really my favorite to listen to. The songs that they did on there aren't bad, but they only had half of it, so you know what, I decided I'm going to have them on there, just for the sheer fact that they put out Sgt. Pepper's, Rubber Soul's one of my favorite Beatles albums, I Love the White Albums. It's another thing, they have songs I don't like, but I think that their albums are really strong. I even forgot to mention Abbey Road, and that one tends to be a fan favorite as well as Revolver. You get the point. Next up, I got Harrystyles. So he only has 3 albums, but so far so good. I think Harrystyles is his best work. I like the first album a lot. Fine Line was pretty decent, and these next few artists only have a few records and stuff, so that's why I wanted to start it off with people who have more of a discography. But I like Harrystyles a lot. He's my favorite pop guy right now. Lorde, a lot of y'all didn't go up for Solar Power, but I really enjoyed the album upon release. I thought it was going to be better than Melodrama, and it isn't. You know, I can admit that now, but it's still really good, with stuff like Solar Power the song, which is really good, Stoned at the Nail Salon, Helen of Troy, Hold No Grudge, The Man with the Axe, Oceanic Feeling, etc. You know, Melodrama, certified classic, to me at least, so, you know, that was goated. And then her debut was absolutely excellent. So, I like Lorde a lot. She's one of my favorite artists out right now. Oliviarodrigo only has 2, and the only artist on this list with 2, because it's kind of unserious to be honest, but Oliviarodrigo, I always give her a 10s because she can write well. I think the vocals are getting better. Still gotta work on the live performing, as I mentioned. But, you know, I like the albums a lot. I do. Guts was one of my favorite albums of last year. I think Sour was a good debut album, and Guts just kind of improved upon that. Last up, I got Dangelo. I really like the debut a lot. It's my favorite. I think Voodoo is a good album, a little bit overrated, you know, and the last album was really good too, only 3 albums, so yeah, that's my last artist for today. So that is going to be it for my list of artists who I feel have no bad albums. You know, there might be some more artists and stuff that I could have forgot. That is definitely a possibility. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this. Some artists, I just feel indifferent towards their projects. I'm trying to talk about artists that I actively like and projects that I go back to relatively often, so that was also kind of part of it. Like I said, I was really on the borderline with Taylor Swift. If she deleted Tortured Poets and Reputation from her discography, I wouldn't necessarily miss them, but I don't think they're bad projects. So, you know, she barely made the cut for me, but I like Taylor Swift. There's a lot of artists that I love that were just not going to make the cut for this video. Janet Jackson, Bonnie Iо was horrible. Same thing with the first 2 albums, really. Paul McCartney, love him to death, but that run in the 80s after the Tug of War album, and maybe there was one good album after Tug of War, everybody knows that was bad. And besides that, he has plenty of bad albums, even though I love him. And, you know, some other artists that I like, you know, some of our favorite artists have bad albums. So that might be a separate video I do of, like, worst albums by, like, my favorite artists and stuff like that. And it's going to be similar to this in a way. Like, it's going to be the reverse. Like, albums that I think, like, are genuinely bad. Only have a few good songs off of it and stuff. Glitter's, like, probably my least favorite Mariah album, but I don't think it's a bad album. So Mariah would not be in that video, for example. So that is definitely something that I'm thinking about doing, because it just, like, was so interesting coming up with this list. And artists I was, like, looking through and, like, oh, they could be part of it. And I thought for 5 seconds, like, wait, that album exists. So I think that that might be fun to do. And yeah, so that's definitely on my radar for sure. But let me know what you guys think of my list. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there any artists that you feel like should have made the cut for my list, and why? And some of these artists you guys might suggest, I've never, like, listened to their full discography, so I can't really put them on the list. You know, I feel like that's not fair, because that goes against the whole point of this video and stuff like that. And let me know your list. You know, I'd definitely be curious to see who you guys think has, you know, no bad albums in the discography. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy it, give it a like below. It helps me out a lot in YouTube algorithm. I very much appreciate that. And you can also subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. I post music discussions every single day. I haven't missed a day this year in terms of posting videos. I'm very proud of that, and I intend to keep that up. And I also post other stuff like about sports sometimes, like basketball and the NFL, and I also have a bunch of Dance Ones content and whatever else I want to post. So there's a lot of topics on this channel for you to check out, and we don't keep it to just music, even though I post it every single day. And then if you hit the bell, you get a notification if you want I post, so you're not missing a brand new video comes out. First link down below in the description is going to be my main channel. I just posted my review of Charlie XCX's Brat album. I went track by track, the deluxe version, so you can check that out. Also can have social media, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, my earbuds if you want to see the music that I'm listening to in real time, my top artists every week and stuff like that. And Free Palestine, this is something that we must educate ourselves on. Also, really quickly, I thought of this, but please register to vote and everything in the election. Like, that's something that's very important to me. Obviously, I'll be voting for Kamala and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's just something I want to say. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one.